You gave up a TV job to start a podcast in your basement. If that doesn't scream midlife crisis, I don't know what does.
It was Championship Sunday here in Indianapolis.
What's the mindset then coming in as a defending champion?
I want to win. No, I want to win.
The young lady over my shoulder, Caitlin Clark.
Not the best looking guy. And I don't think anyone's going to sit here and say, Matt Randazzo was really good looking.
What has this last month, 2 months, 3 months been like for you? It's an important fan base for the Fighting Illini, is it not?
It is.
He turned 69 years young last week. He looked good, Coach.
Oh, try it. Thank you.
Welcome to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Tuesday in the Quad Cities. Tuesday, June 23rd. Thank you guys for joining us wherever you are, however you are taking part of the program. We do greatly appreciate it. It is NBA Draft Tuesday. First round tonight, second round tomorrow night. A lot of things to talk about and catch up with. So thank you guys for spending some of your Tuesday morning with us right here on OTA. If you're watching us live on YouTube, we appreciate that. Thank you for doing that. Make sure you are subscribed. If you have subscribed, thank you. If you have not subscribed, please do so ASAP. Also tell a friend or 2 or 10 about what we're doing each and every day right here in the Quad Cities at 10 a.m. I'm Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Like, comment, all of those good things we greatly appreciate as well. We're also live on X. X has been very, very good to us. Thousands of people watch the show on X almost daily. So we appreciate that. Stay interactive with the show. A great chat on YouTube with the everydayers that hop in there, but also new faces all the time. So stop in, ask questions, complaints, talk to the guests, all those kind of things you can do right now at the chat on YouTube. Also, stay interactive on social media with us as well. We mentioned we're on X. We're also on Instagram as well, at Matt Randazzo _OTA. I mentioned it a few weeks back, but I've been on Instagram. I hadn't been very active on Instagram, and I figured I need to change that. So I had an old account. I got rid of it. I had some WQAD stuff on it that I could actually get rid of. My Facebook is not one of those. Frustrating. So we started a new one. Much more active on that one. So at Matt Randazzo _OTA is where you can find me on Instagram as well. We're also streaming right now live on the WHO streaming app. So welcome to all the viewers in Central Iowa. We appreciate that. Great show for you today. If you love Bennett Stirtz and Iowa basketball in the NBA draft, you're going to enjoy what's coming up. So thank you guys for watching. The first hour of the show is on the WHO streaming app every single day. If you're having fun enjoying it and you want to keep watching the second hour, check us out on YouTube, X, all of those places as well. And then, of course, you can check out the entire show each and every day. Oh, I'd say probably a half hour after we get done on the all the podcasting platforms as well. So whether it be Spotify, iHeart, Apple, Podbean, you name it, whatever platform you use, head there and put in Off the Air with Matt Randazzo, and you can listen to the show each and every day as well. We mentioned it's an NBA Draft Tuesday. We got a lot to get to with that coming up over the next hour of the show. The first hour, heavy on the NBA Draft. If you missed yesterday's show, we had a blast. We talked about the Shrine Bowl, the upcoming high school football season. Also the Western Big Six situation dilemma when it comes to the Alabama Pioneers not playing varsity football this year once again. So we talked with Moline head coach Mike Morrissey about all that. You can check that out. Tom Kakert hopped on the show to talk about Dusty May heading from Michigan to Dallas. And then, of course, John Marks on yesterday as well. So go check out yesterday's show later on. Don't do it now. Stay with us right now. And then go check out yesterday's show as well. On today's show, we mentioned NBA Draft is tonight. Tyler Tachman from the Des Moines Register is in New York. He'll join us in a matter of moments. He's been following Bennett Stirtz and his family since they've got there. I'm spending a lot of time with them, shootouts, workouts, watching them in New York. The media day was yesterday. He was also there when the news broke of Dusty May leaving Michigan. Heck, he was standing there and there's 3 former Wolverines getting ready to be drafted. So insight on that, insight on Keaton Wagler. And then I'm going to ask him, what's the next Iowa basketball player to get drafted? And we know the roster now. We know some of the incoming recruits and future recruits as well. So we asked him that question as well. So we got a lot to get to with Tyler Tachman coming up in just a matter of moments. Also, some news breaking with the PGA Tour. Craig DeVrieze will be here around 10:45 to kind of break more of that down. And we'll talk about it here in a second, but some sweeping changes that I don't think are unexpected, but they'll start in 2028. So we'll talk about those and what they mean coming up with Craig DeVrieze at 10:45. We'll explain a little more coming up in a matter of moments. All that plus some Indiana Fever fun last night. Cubs get postponed for the second straight evening. All of that and much more coming up later on in the show as well. Let's get to some news and notes, and I guess we'll start with the PGA Tour. Sweeping changes announced this morning officially at 9 o'clock. They'll go into effect in 2028, and there'll be a championship series and there'll be a challenger series. So two different series. A lot of talk of the tracks with track 1, track 2. Top 120 players will be in the championship series. The challenger series will have after that 24 events on the championship series. A lot of the familiar names already locked in with the signature events. They're looking at purses of at least $20 million for those track 1 or championship series events. Then there will also be 6, I believe, and we'll talk to Craig about it, standalone events on the Challenger series that'll have TV coverage just for them, probably a little higher purses, and those type of things. So big changes. What does it mean? What does it mean for the John Deere Classic? We don't know just yet. No official announcement of what events will be at what places. So I think we'll learn more about that as we go. I think off the top, you'd think probably Challenger Series, but we don't know. We'll talk more with Craig DeVrieze, who's been covering golf and the John Deere Classic, I think, since golf was created way back in the day. So Craig DeVrieze will break some more of that stuff down with us. I don't want to get too far into saying what I don't know, because I don't know if I know, because it's all new this morning. So have a great conversation with Craig DeVrieze coming up in just a little bit as well. We mentioned the NBA draft is coming up tonight. Some big news yesterday. The Bulls made a trade, getting Nick Claxton, a center from Brooklyn, a very serviceable 27-year-old, a nice piece for the Bulls as they begin a new era with 2 picks tonight in the draft. But the big one that everybody's talking about, the blockbuster, the Bucks officially, I should say, trading Giannis to the Heat and Bobby Portis for Tyler Hero. KJ Yakachonis is on there as well, a first-round pick from last year. A couple other players and 3 first-round picks, including tonight's number 13, a swap of picks later, a second-rounder. So a ton for Giannis, who goes to the Heat. The Boston Celtics were another option. They did not get the deal done. So we'll see where they go from there. But maybe the first big news, and it happened last night, of the NBA draft, which comes up tonight. So we'll talk much more about those type of things in just a second as well. The Indiana Fever scored 3 points for the first 9 minutes and 59 seconds of the game last night, and then finally hit a 3 at the buzzer, and then turned a 16-point deficit into a double-figure victory over the Mercury. A lot of other things going on. A long fourth quarter. Technical foul for Caitlin Clark. Sophie Cunningham was Sophie Cunningham, which was good stuff. We'll talk about that in hour number 2 of the show. But we start today with some NBA draft talk. And there's not a person right now that's getting better access to Bennett Stirtz as the Iowa point guard gets ready to get selected tonight than this man right here. So joining me now in New York, Brooklyn, Midtown, wherever you fancy newspaper guys get to stay, Tyler Tachman, right here and Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Thanks for doing this, man. This has been fun for you. You've been in New York. Give us your travels. You went out Saturday?
Yeah, I got here Saturday. Yes.
So what's this been like? And obviously, you're kind of getting an in-depth, up-close look at this process for Bennett?
Yeah, this will be my first in-person draft that I'll have been at, but I've been able to kind of follow Bennett around a little bit during this trip, and on Sunday is when he got in flew in the morning. He got a workout in at there's like an NBA PA Players Association gym that they have access to, and it's kind of in the middle of New York, and it's just sequestered, kind of this little, gym that you can kind of leave the streets of New York and get into. So it's kind of a cool setup. But he spent Sunday just kind of traveling around, sightseeing. We went to Central Park, walked around New York, and it's kind of funny because he kind of, if you don't know much about basketball and you were just walking the streets, like he kind of just blends in as any other tourist.
Yeah.
Looking. This was his first time in New York. He's looking up at the towering buildings and craning his neck and walking past the hot dog stands and walking into Central Park, and it's very much like a country boy in a big city vibes. Yeah. So it was pretty cool just to see him in that type of setting, and I think he really enjoyed it. He has family, a good amount of family here. Both of his parents, his grandparents, his brothers have kind of incrementally come in. His uncle is here as well. So he has a good contingent of family that he's really able to enjoy this whole experience with.
Absolutely. Tyler, you're probably I think you're heading to a workout with him this morning. I think when we talked before we started, I was like, he's working out like it's draft night. It's draft day. And I guess I shouldn't be surprised. I'm lazy, I guess, but I would figure the one day of the year you might not get a workout in is draft day. But that's something that he's done like the entire time, and it's not surprising to you. Your thoughts on a workout this morning? Did you think you'd be going to a workout?
Yeah, I think so. He's worked out every day that he's been here. So even after, I think they got up around 3:30 a.m. on Sunday to get here, was working out that day, getting up shots, and same thing on Monday, and then the same thing on Tuesday. The thing that it's kind of a fun dynamic is his youngest brother, Cooper, was there on Saturday helping with the workout, and his dad was also helping with the workout. And then on Monday, one of his other brothers, Caden, was there as well. So it's very much a family outing. It's cool to see him in that type of setting and being able to share this with his family and his brothers. And it's just, watching the workout happen with two of his brothers on Monday, it doesn't look like a NBA first round pick. It looks like just brothers having fun, like just a great experience. And obviously the skill level does look like an NBA draft pick, but just like the vibe of it, it's like just very relaxed, and you can tell that they're having a really good time. And we walked in there on Monday, and Cam Boozer was in there, and Kingston Flemings as well. So it's also just for someone that really likes basketball, it's a cool environment because you go to the hotel and you just see all these guys that you see on TV or that you get to see once or twice a year when they play Iowa, kind of just all in the same place. And it's just a little sort of like the NBA draft combine, where it's this Olympic village sort of the basketball world coming together.
No, absolutely. Tyler, can you take us through the maybe off the court stuff you've seen from Bennett? And I used the story yesterday with Tom Kakert. I think I was up there on a Friday night before an Iowa football game, and on Saturday morning I stopped at Trader Joe's, and before I went over to Kinnick Stadium, and kind of look over and I watched somebody come in. I'm like, that's Bennett Stirtz. And he had just been on we did our show from Carver Hawkeye, so I knew him probably a couple weeks later, and I was like, I'm not going to bug him or anything. And then I watched him as he kind of saw and made his way over to chat with me. And he's just like you mentioned, he doesn't look like the superstar as you walk around, but he's as down to earth and as genuinely a nice a guy as I probably met. And I don't know him nearly as well as you do. Being in these workouts, talking about being with his brothers and around his family, can you kind of give us the personality of Bennett Stirtz? Because I think what you see is what you get. He's a really nice guy.
Yeah, and it's also sort of reflective of his on-court persona and just being cool, calm, and collected. That's one of the things that's really an asset for him in the game of basketball, just being someone that isn't really sped up. He's just able to control his emotions. You don't see him get too high or too low often. And I feel like he's very similar in that way off the court. Like, he's just pretty even keel, fairly quiet. It's been fun to see him with his brothers because I think that's brought a little bit more of that comfortability and personality out of him. But also just to see him again, just like be in the big city. We would walk into the basketball gym on Sunday and we're in the bustling New York. There's a pedicab coming by, blaring music, and he just like looks back and he's like, "It ain't Iowa City, it isn't Iowa City anymore." So just kind of things like that. It reminds you of the journey that he's been on, because it's been crazy from the Division II level to Drake to Iowa, and his life has changed a whole lot in the last 2 to 3 years, but also just the last year in general.
Tyler Tachman from the Des Moines Register in the Big Apple joining us right now and Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Tyler, let's talk basketball. Everything I've heard, and I don't have the inside sources that you do by any stretch, but I've heard some good things. I've seen, and that's just looking at social media, talking to a couple people, some good workouts here. He's impressed. Expectations for tonight twofold. What do you think? What are the Stirtz saying anything? Does Bennett have a feeling of what might happen, or is he going in there just putting things in God's hand and look what happens at the end of the night? Well, your thoughts on how tonight might go for Bennett?
I think mid-first round is a good gauge to put it at. It could be a little bit earlier than that. It could be a little bit later than that. But he's felt like the workouts he's been at have gone really well. So I think he's someone that, maybe not from a measurable standpoint is going to really jump out at you from a athletic standpoint, but he's someone that I think you really just have to watch him play and see how he operates and see at the pace, his decision making, things like that. But I think the benefit, you talk a lot about him being an older guy in this draft class, which is weird to think about because, he's still young, obviously, but he's kind of labeled as an older guy in this draft class, similar to Yaxel Lendeborg from Michigan. But what he does have is a lot of experience. He's played a ton of games at the college level. And I think if you're looking for reasons of optimism for why he can make the jump to the NBA, it's because he has made the jump in levels of competition multiple times before. He's made the jump from high school to Division II to mid-major, and mid-major to the Big Ten level. So he's used to making these types of jumps. Now, this might be a little bit more drastic in terms of the level of competition, athleticism, size, talent that he has made, but he has shown throughout his career, and especially this last 2 to 3 years, that he can take a step up in competition and actually probably be even better as the competition has gotten better.
When you hear strengths and weaknesses, things that people like, and not people, but the GMs, the important people like, and the things maybe that the knocks on Bennett, what have you heard, this week? Shooting experience, maybe on the plus side, the minus side, maybe too old. I don't know exactly, but what are the pluses and minuses, the strengths and weaknesses you've heard this week?
Yeah, strengths. He's a winner. I mean, he's you look at his college career and he's learned under Ben McCollum, who is basically the definition of a winner. So they go 31 wins at Drake. They go to Iowa's first Elite Eight since 1987. He's someone who has winning on his resume. Also just his IQ, his ability to operate in ball screens, his ability to decision make. Something he didn't have the opportunity to show as much at Iowa is him playing off the ball, which I think, and he feels very confident that he is going to be actually probably more effective off the ball as a shooter than he is playing on the ball, and he's obviously very good on the ball. In terms of weaknesses, I would say a question that's come up to him a lot during the draft process is his defense. And I don't think he's like a bad defender in college. He can be pesky in terms of getting steals, but it's a different level at the NBA, and especially in the playoffs, guys can kind of get hunted if they find a matchup they like. So I think being able to hold up defensively, he doesn't need to be an elite defender, but serviceable as long as he is really doing what people think he can do on the offensive end. And then also another thing I would say that's come up is his ability to create without a ball screen. He's really good in the ball screen game. That was something that Iowa played very heavily in this past season. But when he gets a switch on a bigger defender that's more athletic than him in the NBA, does he have the quickness and burst to get past them without a ball screen if the possession warrants it? So those, I feel like that's, kind of generally speaking, the broad overview of his skill set and his evaluation as a prospect.
It's funny you mentioned the defensive end, and I feel like I'm like, not that you were, but I feel like I want to defend the weaknesses because that's what we kind of do. But I remember that Iowa-Nebraska game in Iowa City, I believe it was. I mean, I think they won on the defensive end, and I think what he did against Price Sanford was a big reason why they ended up winning that basketball game. So yeah, a lot of pluses defensively when it comes to Bennett Stirtz. Can you talk about what this week and tonight means for Iowa basketball? I feel like, yes, it's huge for Bennett, but it's pretty big for the Hawkeyes as well, isn't it?
Yeah, just to, Iowa was just in the national spotlight with getting to the Elite Eight, the run that they made, and now they're here again, getting this attention for good reason. And I feel like it's really important when you're restarting and kind of jump-starting a program of being able to get positive, visibility, to be visible, to have Ben McCollum at the draft, to have Bennett Stirtz at the draft. It's become Bennett's success story has kind of become, in a good way, like a buzzword that you can just throw out there to speak to what Iowa basketball is becoming and Ben McCollum's development. When you talk about recruiting, stuff like that, that's someone that people know. Bennett Stirtz, you can throw out that name and they're familiar with his story. So just the positive attention that it's bringing to Iowa basketball, it continues to shed a positive light on the program. And then also it shows that Ben McCollum can get players to the next level and can get to the NBA. And that winning is important. That goes without saying, but recruits and players and guys in the portal also care about whether they can get to the next level. And this kind of reopens that pipeline. Fran McCaffrey had a reputation at Iowa for being able to get guys to the next level, whether you talk about Luka Garza, the Murray brothers, Peyton Sandford, Joe Wieskamp. That was something that he did a really good job of. But when there's this program reset and essentially a rebirth of the program with all these changes that happened after the coaching change, you kind of have to reestablish that, and you have to reestablish your track record and reputation. And this is kind of the crown jewel and the trailblazer that sets that precedent that, yes, Ben McCollum can get you to the NBA.
I want to talk a little recruiting, which seems weird right now, but yesterday there's some news that came out. I don't know if you've heard, but Dusty May is no longer at Michigan. I'm going to talk to you about, yeah, right? Weird. I want to talk to you about the guys at Michigan that you talked to, but that does affect Iowa because Iowa's in, as you know, following recruiting for a couple of prospects that are Iowa and Michigan involved. You got to think that helps a little bit. Caden Daughtry's coming, I think, officially the Iowa State weekend, so September 12th or whatever. And I think the 19th, Jackson Davis comes in as well. Both guys like Michigan and Iowa. So here you have Iowa on the main stage with a point guard tonight, and then the maybe biggest competition, don't want to say biggest, but a competitor has a loss like that. How does, as somebody who follows the recruiting and covers it, this was a pretty good 48 hours for Iowa basketball recruiting?
Yeah, and yeah, I don't know, man. The stability in college basketball is just so hard. It's so hard to really sink your teeth into because things can change so quickly. And that was like, I talked to Yaxel Lendeborg and Marez Johnson on Monday, and both of them were basically surprised by the news, like taken aback. I think the general consensus from people around basketball was that Dusty May was going to make the move to the NBA at some point, but for it to happen this early was the surprising piece of things. And, yeah, from a recruiting standpoint, maybe Iowa, that gives Iowa a little bit of an edge moving forward with those guys. I think it could also possibly shift the power dynamic in the Big Ten, because Iowa, at least in year one in Ben McCollum, is a program that's on the rise, and Michigan was one that was clearly in that upper tier under Dusty May. Very quickly had gotten back to that level in his 2 seasons, and now they just kind of exist in a little bit more uncertain waters. You're not exactly sure. They could still be really good, but you don't know as much what the future could hold. So maybe that gives Iowa opportunity to, kind of move into that upper echelon. I'm not saying that that's the only factor that's going to matter, but you can just potentially see these power dynamics shifting when you have a program losing a head coach that's had so much success, and a program at Iowa that is on the rise and that seems to be trending toward that upper group.
You mentioned it a little bit, Tyler, but you talked to those 2 guys that are there, and they were surprised. They didn't see it coming. What was that like yesterday morning when you hear the news and you're around? I mean, you're around basketball elite and basketball royalty, and you're right in the middle of it. What was the buzz? What were people talking about yesterday?
Well, it was really convenient that we were there with like 3 Michigan guys at the draft. It was cool just because you got to basically very shortly after the news came out, we were just able to ask them what they thought about it. And Yaxel Lendeborg, the word he used was heartbroken. He was obviously not coming back to play for Michigan, but he was the coach that in his 1 season they won a national title, was there. The kind of interesting thing about this is the Mavericks have the 9th overall pick in this year's draft. Adai Mara Johnson and Yaxel Lendeborg are all sort of in that range. So it's possible that one of those 3 guys who thought they were done playing for Dusty May could end up still being coached by him. So I do think, though, that the larger issue here, if part of the reason that Dusty May went to the NBA was because of the current landscape in college basketball, it's just hard to see coaches keep getting driven away. Because if I have to choose between watching college basketball and the NBA, I'm a college basketball guy, and that's I like watching the NBA playoffs, but I was raised watching college basketball. That's what I like, and it's hard to see coaches be turned off by the difficult to predict and difficult, the structureless nature of college basketball. It's tough to see that because you want college. I guess the good part of it is that you have better players staying because there's better money. So, but at the same time, because there's that lack of structure, it's hard to see coaches get driven away. So I feel like it's a loss for the college game in general. As obviously for Michigan, but also just as like a college basketball observer, to see a good coach, a really good coach like Dusty May, leave the college basketball ecosystem.
Yeah, you look at it, Tyler, and I think, yes, if you're a Big Ten opponent of Michigan, you're kind of like first reaction of, yeah, that's going to help. But I mean, when it comes to the Big Ten brand, yeah, there's a reason that the drought of national championships came to an end, and that guy did it. It brings everybody else along with it too. So I think it maybe hurts the Big Ten a little bit as well. Yeah. Actually, a lot as we move forward. Tyler Tachman joining us on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. A little rapid fire. I'm going to ask you some hard questions. Are you ready?
Okay. Yeah.
Best player in this draft when we're old, 20 years from now. I'll probably be dead, but you'll be it's still in your prime. 20 years from now, we're going to look back at the 2026 draft and say this was the best player drafted in that draft.
If he stays on the court and is healthy, I would say Darren Peterson. I just feel like he has some types of tools that you can't teach with how smooth he is, his playmaking, his creation. This is what I enjoy about this year's draft. There's no clear-cut number one. There's no guy that's like, oh, we can just skip the first pick because we know who it's going to be. There's a legit case for AJ DeBansa, for Darren Peterson. You could probably even throw Cam Boozer in there, and then there's this kind of top 4 if you also add in Caleb Wilson. And then after that, it's kind of like open game as well. That's why it should be an interesting night for Bennett Stirtz because he could go. I mean, maybe he could get in the lottery. Maybe he could end up slipping into the mid 20s. But after you get past that top 4 guys, it's just kind of going to be open season. Some of it might be based on fit. What does that franchise need? But I think that's what makes this draft fun is because there's depth of talent and there's not that clear-cut number one like there are when you have years where you have a Cooper Flag.
I have 4 boys that are big Bennett Stirtz fans. If I go out this afternoon and I'm looking for hats and I'm like, I'm going to have to buy a hat so that the guys can wear it tonight. Let's say Chase. We'll pick Chase, and Chase wants a hat. What NBA team's hat should I buy him if you think Bennett Stirtz might go to that team? Basically, it's a nice way of saying, give me the team that fits Bennett the most. I'm not saying for sure he'll get drafted, but like if at the end of the night, if I talk to you at midnight tonight and you're like, well, I won't, I promise. But if I did, what team drafts Bennett Stirtz?
I'm gonna go with the Detroit Pistons. I feel like him and Cade Cunningham, that would be a really good combination.
Are they at? Are they early 20s?
Yeah, they're early 20s. Yes,
I don't
they're
know
early
if he makes
20s.
it that long, but I'd love it.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Well,
Go ahead.
and there's also it's a group of 5 or around 5 guards, and it's kind of like where does each team have Bennett on their board of those guards? So if there's a franchise that needs a guard, are they going to take LeBaron Philon over Bennett? Do they have Bennett over Philon, over Christian Anderson? There's a handful of guys that are kind of in that maybe late lottery, mid first round group that are really quality guards. Abuka Okori is another one from Stanford. So where does Bennett lie on that totem pole of guards? That will kind of dictate where he could possibly go. But I think him and Cade Cunningham, he could offer 2 things to the Pistons. One is another playmaker and creator to run the offense when Cade Cunningham is on the bench. 2, a secondary creator and shooter when Cade Cunningham is on the floor. So, and a floor spacer. So that I would be excited to watch him play. And the Pistons are a franchise who have been gaining ground. They're on the upward trend going up, and he would be staying in the Midwest. He'd be staying relatively to, close to where he's played all of his college years. So that's one team, and there's a fair amount of teams that he's worked out for and, heard from, but that's just one that I feel like would probably be a good fit.
I know that it's not draft night yet, so you'll have a great experience yourself tonight. But so far, being around the draft and being there, what has surprised you? Pleasant surprise? And maybe what's something that you didn't love that surprised you, if there is anything?
I guess the pleasant surprise is that I've been to New York before, so I actually felt like I knew what more to expect. And it feels like things are coming at me a little slower, where you talk about the game slowing down, like walking around New York. I feel like for me personally, it doesn't feel as chaotic and fast because I knew what to expect. Okay. And I feel like I can kind of see Bennett being on the opposite end of that spectrum of like him being kind of wide-eyed like a deer in headlights in the big city, just because he said he's been to Chicago and he's like, this is totally different beast than Chicago. So that's what I would say has been a pleasant surprise. And also I'll say this, being with the Stirtz family, it doesn't feel like you're with someone like a family at the NBA draft. It feels like you're just with a family. Like there's obvious things that, a normal family that are in New York wouldn't be able to do, like going to the gym, that NBA PA gym, and doing the media availability and being at this super nice hotel and stuff like that. But it feels like, it's just like a family that's really enjoying and embracing this once in a lifetime opportunity. And to be able to have that with his brothers and parents, it's been a cool experience. It feels like they're just kind of, soaking it all in. We've also seen on Sunday there was some, because the World Cup's going on. So we saw World Cup fans, and there was, I don't know what country it was, but they had like these little Viking hats on. So it was just like you get to see some like there's some fun people watching in New York as well.
No, absolutely. And now they have cousin Tyler at the end of this. You're an honorary member of the Stirtz family. Two more. One, the next Iowa basketball player to get drafted in the NBA draft will be blank.
I've thought about this. I'll give you a top 3.
Ooh, I like it. Look at that. Go backwards order. Go 3, 2,
backwards.
1. I like that more.
3, Cooper Koch, because he's 6'8". He can shoot. NBA loves that. I think he'll need to improve his defense, foot speed. I don't know, athleticism as much as he can, but he has the shooting and floor spacing and size that the NBA really likes. 2, Andrew McKeever. He's in a similar boat where he's going to have to prove that he's good enough athletically and from a speed perspective to handle the game in the NBA. But he has that thing you can't teach, which is size, and the NBA loves those big 5 men that can alter shots, that can get rebounds, that can be lob threat, and he can provide that. I think he'll also have to get better at his shot blocking, because that's something that didn't totally pop off the page from his time at St. Mary's. But he has that 7'3" frame is just something that you can't teach. So if he can progress and be a Zach Edey, sort of that type of player. And then my number 1
drum roll. Hold on, drum roll. Go.
Is Tate Sage, because with his size, if he adds ball handling, facilitating, creating, he has already kind of the skill set of that modern big NBA guard / wing. He can slash, he can shoot, he can finish at the rim. He's athletic. He's already shown in his freshman season in Iowa he is clearly capable. If he continues to make jumps in his game, he's someone, and that's actually, in the locker room, I think this was like after the Nebraska win, it was like, yeah, he's a pro. That's what Cam Manning was saying. Like it's been clear to them that the way that he operates, and if he keeps getting better from where he's at, like he could be the next Hawkeye drafted.
Tyler, I remember him being on the show, and I said, what are you excited? What skill set are you excited to show Iowa fans your sophomore year? And he's like, I'm a point guard. I'm used to having the ball in my hands and facilitating and doing kind of the stuff that, everyone says like Iowa needed to go out and find their Bennett Stirtz. They could have that in a similar way with Tate Sage at the University of Iowa as well. Last one, because I have you here. The buzz you're hearing about Keaton Wagler. I know you're an Iowa guy, but I got this other side of the river that likes to watch the show every once in a while. So your buzz, what have you heard about Keaton Wagler as we get ready for tonight?
So on Sunday, we were standing in the lobby of the hotel, and the Stirtz family and the Wagler family were, they know each other. They were talking, and Bennett was like, no one would have thought we would have been here because, Wagler was that overlooked recruit.
They're almost teammates at Drake.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, Drake recruited him, but both of their stories are just kind of off the wall and, hard to believe, both being from the same area as well. But Wagler being someone who just kind of exploded onto the scene as a freshman and helped Illinois reach the Final Four. Of course, they end Iowa's season in the Elite Eight, and then Bennett Stirtz being that D2 to first round pick type guy. But Bennett was just kind of like, yeah, no one would have thought we would have been here, and now they're both there. As Wagler, I think, looks like he could be the 5th pick right now, somewhere in that range. Yeah. His size and his shot creation. I've seen this comp and I agree with it. Tyrese Halliburton as someone that's just the way that he moves, the size, the ability to create, to facilitate, to play make. So, but yeah, no, it's 2 guys who have flown under the radar in their careers and now are going to be first round picks.
Tyler Tachman is out in the Big Apple. He'll have everything you need. Obviously, we talk about the X account all the time, but Tyler _T15 is where you can check out Tyler. He's doing articles all the time. He'll have everything covered tonight. And then we've mentioned you've been following Bennett since, kind of stalking Bennett in kind of a way. I remember, it's funny you mentioned
I don't like that word. I don't like that word.
I get you. Well, that's the same thing with us, because like Joe Wieskamp, it was the same way. It was like, hey, we did some interviews with him ahead of time. He didn't go out there. And then they wanted to be just family then. And then so we watched with some friends at a bar in Muscatine. And then right when he was drafted, we booked it over there. And I felt like, he's like, why aren't you here yet? And I'm like, because I don't want to be the weird guy that shows up at your house at 10 o'clock at night or whatever it was. So you're going to put give me the game plan for you when it comes to everything you're compiling and doing out in the Big Apple this week.
Yeah, just, I've kind of been following along the way, photos, videos, stories, and then I'm also planning probably next week or something just to put together more of a feature-y kind of takeout type story, just what it's been like to follow him around during this experience. And something I'll also say is I asked him, because we were walking back from the gym, and I was like, do you get used to all the cameras? Because now he's kind of been in the spotlight more, especially at Iowa. He's had time, and he said no, like he hasn't gotten used to it. So I think it's still kind of that underrated Division II guy at heart, and that's part of his personality, of he's just kind of more reserved and quiet, but he's still kind of getting used to being in that spotlight, and this is a very, very bright spotlight to be in.
Absolutely. Tyler, I appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your stay in the Big Apple. If you're on the subway, don't get cakered, if that's a word. And you know the story. We don't need to get into it, but don't get cakered.
You don't need to repeat that.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right, buddy. We'll talk to you soon. Appreciate you.
All right, yep, thank you.
All right, that is Tyler Tachman from the Des Moines Register. Great stuff, big night, and NBA draft tonight. We talked a little Wagler as well, but Bennett Stirtz will be a first-round pick, and it'll be really cool to see. Only 1 year at Iowa, but Iowa fans attached to that young man, and for all the good reasons as well. We got a little more to get to. You're watching OTA on a Tuesday right here in the Quad Cities. We'll be right back. All right, be honest. Are you craving Hungry Hobo again? You know, that fresh sliced meat piled high on those amazing sandwiches, hot off the grill chicken and steak with all those delicious toppings, the biggest and best selection of baked potatoes, or simply some waffle fries dipped in cheese. Well, now that Quad City favorite is even easier to get. Download the Hungry Hobo app today. Order ahead, skip the line, and earn rewards all at the same time. There's Double Points Monday and exclusive specials as well. With 12 locations in the Quad City area, it's Hungry Hobo. Now even easier to find, but still hard to resist.
Rafferty Funeral Home, dedicated to serving families in the Quad Cities since 2007.
Hi, welcome. Here, come on in.
An experienced staff plans each service to reflect the unique life and legacy of your loved one. Rafferty Funeral Home is proud to serve our community with dignity, respect, and compassion, helping you to celebrate your traditions and lasting memories no matter your faith, culture, or budget. Rafferty Funeral Home in Moline. Call today to discuss prearrangements.
When it comes to quality, convenient pizza, Godfather's Pizza in Silvis has you covered. Featuring a beautiful dine-in area, delivery, and a carry-out window. Godfather's Pizza is that pizza you grew up with, not a convenience store. You see, at Godfather's Pizza, the dough is made fresh daily. That mozzarella cheese is shredded fresh and never frozen. And those toppings are abundantly piled high each and every time. Locally owned and operated since 2010, Godfather's is a huge supporter of local athletes right here in the Quad Cities. So come on by and check them out at 1211 Avenue of the Cities in Silvis. Order online at godfathers.com and reunite with that same delicious pizza you grew up with. Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Tuesday in the Quad Cities. A busy Tuesday in the Quad Cities. Some breaking news this morning with the PGA Tour. We'll get to that in just a matter of moments. Also, as we started the show, the University of Iowa making an announcement. There will be another intriguing non-conference basketball game for the men. They will be playing in Sioux City on November 10th against Virginia Tech. So they're doing a good job of really lining up a solid non-conference slate that involves now Alabama, Virginia Tech, Iowa State, obviously in the mix as well, Xavier as well. So a nice lineup of games for Iowa, different from last year. I know that talking with Josh Sash here on the show, they tried anything they could to get as many good games as possible and struggled kind of late in the game. And now you can tell this year that's different. Tom Caker was on yesterday talking about how Beth Katz told him that, you know, Ben McCullum is in everybody's ear trying to get as many quality programs to get to the University of Iowa or vice versa as possible. So a cool addition. Virginia Tech in Sioux City coming up on November 10th. As the Iowa Hawkeyes get ready for year number 2 of the Ben McCullum era. Of course, a big day in golf as well. The PGA officially announcing a really big change when it comes to their competitive schedule and how they're going to do things. So here to talk more about it. We talked a little bit about it at the start of the show, but when it comes to golf here in the Quad Cities, you gotta go live to Craig DeVrieze's porch. You can. It's not too early for a stogie, a cigar, is it?
Oh no, God, goodness, no.
No, of course not.
That's you up at 6 a.m. I'm smoking a cigar. By golly.
I love it. Hey, it was an interesting day when it came to an interesting morning. Nothing I don't think surprising when it comes to where things are going, but big changes to the PGA Tour starting in 2028. A little bit of a breakdown, and Craig, you can talk to it more. Basically, there's going to be a championship series and then a challenger series. That championship series will run February through August, 23 to 24 events, includes the players, the 4 major championships, playoff events, and then this year's a lot of the signature events, all of the signature events, but 120 player fields. Outside of that, they're looking at, and you can see here it says they filled 10 of the expected 15 events. They're still going to add 5 more and figure that out. But if not, then you're part of the Challenger Series. Those purses will be, $4 million to $7 million. I think the John Deere Classics is around 7. Those major ones, those championship ones, are sitting at $20 million purses. Is that right? $40 million purses?
No, $20 million, just like the elevated events currently pay, and they'll all be uniform in that capacity.
So your thoughts?
Actually, there's 15 championship series events and plus the majors and the Players Championship.
Gotcha.
And
your thoughts?
The Challenger Series is going to consist of 20 events. It'll be played February through August, just like the Championship Series. 144 player fields, 72-hole stroke play, 36-hole cut, at least $4 million purses. There was a mention, and this did not come up in Brian Rolapp's news conference, but there was mention of some so-called elevated Challenger Series events, and I think that maybe up to 7, at least 5 or 6 that would offer bigger purses, have network TV, not be played opposite the Championship Series. So they'll have their own dates, and I see opportunity there for Deere to keep a slightly more significant role on the Challenger Series if that's the role they choose to play. I think for all the answers we may have gotten or not gotten today, the devil is going to be in the details and what John Deere decides to do, how this works. And I know certainly Mara, Sylvie Downing, and John Deere would have been consulted on this. And I'm sure they had some advance notice as to what the structure was going to look like and some discussions about how Deere might fit.
No, absolutely.
With 5 elevated events undetermined, it doesn't necessarily mean that it can't that this can't grow into something else. But I think Brian Rolapp's in the future competition committee's focus on trying to get back to bigger markets probably makes that a challenge to have an elevated event here. So
is that a good thing, Craig? Is that a good thing? The focus on for the PGA Tour and for golf in general. I know they focus and they want to get to these big markets. Is that necessarily a good thing in your mind?
No, it's not at all. I don't think so at all. I think a lot of what they're doing is detrimental to their future, and I think this is the model they're going to roll out in 2028. It doesn't mean that's going to be the model in 2032. I think they're going to find that they're making some mistakes here. I don't think those who forget history are doomed to repeat it, as I say, and I don't know that this CEO and future commissioner he announced as Jay Monahan's successor as of January 1 as the 5th commissioner in the succession. I don't know that he understands the history of golf. I don't think he appreciates the where the tour has been and where it succeeded and where it hasn't. He had an opportunity when the leak came out a couple weeks ago that maybe the tour was pushing Deere to take this tournament to Chicago. He had an opportunity to pay attention to the social media response and to the media response, frankly, about how much an event like the John Deere Classic is built by community and by the community that it was fostered in and grew in. And I don't think there's a tournament that's more of its community than the John Deere Classic, and that we can all say that with confidence. So I think the focus on going back to bigger markets is a mistake. They've been to Boston, didn't work. They've been to New York. Those fans are jerks. And I don't know that and it didn't work there. Chicago, they moved the Western Open, which was successful, to other markets, but that was kind of a return to its history when obviously the Western traveled in the old days, including the Davenport Country Club. So, no, it's a mistake, I think, and I think that's you don't have to go very far back in history. All you have to do is go back to March when they played went back to Miami, and that was the flattest, least well received, most poorly attended of the elevated events, won by a great champion with nobody there to care, in Cam Young. So no, it's a mistake, and I think they're making. And I think Rory McIlroy expressed the quiet part very eloquently out loud last week when he said that they're talking about as the Challenger Series, they're talking about glorified Korn Ferry Tour events. That's very much what I heard today. And when they talk about the bigger markets and changing this model, trying to go to a for-profit rather than a non-profit event, they are forgetting what the best commissioner in the history of the PGA Tour, and maybe one of the most impactful commissioners in the history of any professional sport, Dean Beeman, built. And they're basically throwing out a lot of his the tenets that made the tour what it is. And as Rory pointed out last week, they're going to find out that the tour they had pre-live was a pretty good thing, and they're going completely away from that. I don't think it's a good thing in any way, shape, or form.
Craig, and we're Quad Cityans. We're gonna be a little bit biased, but it's not just a bias when it comes to this area. The tour doesn't do well. You just mentioned it doesn't do well in major cities sometimes. I mean, it's trying to force something that doesn't work. Kind of looking too at a big picture. We mentioned the championship series will have events and the purses will be minimum $20 million. Are all sponsors? Are not sponsors exempt? All the sponsors, the title sponsors, are they all on board with that? Like I would find it hard. You're asking that's just for the purse, more or less for everything that goes along with it. It's going to cost a ton of money to host a championship series event. won't some look and say, are we getting the bang for our buck, if that makes any sense?
Well, yeah, I mean, two of the strongest sponsors on the PGA Tour already have walked away, and Honda, who left 2 years ago, their exit made John Deere the second longest running sponsor on the PGA Tour, and now Rocket Mortgage in Detroit, they're going to play what I think is very easily going to be probably the final Rocket Mortgage tournament, and directly after the John Deere Classic. So, there's all kinds of indications that what their focus is and what their mission is and what their goals are is not in the tour's best interest. And I think they're just disregarding that based on the influence of the Fenway Group led by Theo Epstein, who's on the Future Tour Competition Tours committee, and also the Patrick Cantleys of the world who are under the impression that the live model was proof that golfers are worth the kind of money that the NBA players and the Patrick Mahomes of the world get, and that's simply not the case.
Yeah,
it's never been, and if anybody has a capacity to understand economics, it should be these guys that are coming out of college with economic degrees, but. And one of those is Patrick Cantley, and I put him. In my mind, he's the face of this player greed movement that was built in response to Live, which Rory very correctly pointed out was built on a false economy, and is the reason that the PIF fund walked away. I mean, they are not funding Live anymore because it was simply an unsustainable model, and I think with $20 million, $15 and $20 million purses, asking sponsors to pay, I think what has been cited is the $30 million difference of an elevated expense versus $12 million for a Challenger Series event. That's just not sustainable. They've got 10 sponsors now. They say they're going to get 5. Brian Rolapp says they've got interest from other potential sponsors. I don't know if that's true or not, and I don't know how true that's going to be once they've, sponsors come and sponsors go in this business model, and you've got to get a return for your dollar. And Deere has done a great job of making that happen. And the fact of the matter is, it's built on the availability and the coverage by CBS that they can take beyond the United States and beyond the CBS audience. It's meant a lot, and it really means a lot. So I think there's going to be some hard lessons learned, and don't mention this to Todd Hayduke, because I do actually work for the PGA Tour, but I think I refer to Brian Rolapp as the future commissioner of the PWHL. Professional Women's Hockey League. I think he's gonna be eating a very large mistake leading the tour down this road. I just don't see how it's going to work.
No. I do want to mention too, like, we did reach out to our good friend and tournament director Andrew Lehman, who's got a lot to do right now when it comes to getting ready for next week and what will be a fantastic week of golf. Andrew said we remain focused on the 55th playing of the John Deere Classic next week and look forward to learning more about the changes coming to the PGA Tour in 2028. It's going to be an amazing week of great golf and entertainment here in the Quad Cities next week. So kind of just to sum things up, and you did mention a little bit about the leak of the Chicago thing. We knew changes were coming. The Chicago thing was just weird and basically wrong. But also someone on the chat mentioned it's an $8.8 million purse here in the Quad Cities at the John Deere Classic. So
thank you.
So that's very impressive when it comes to that, and it kind of does fit into that, standalone or one of those elevated Challenger Series events, if you will. I want to talk about this year's John Deere Classic as well, because again, just so that people don't get confused, I've had some people text me like, does that change the John Deere Classic this year? What's going on with it?
It
This
doesn't
is
change the John Deere Classic
2028.
next year.
No, not at
necessarily.
all. So
2028 is when these changes.
2026, 2027, and then the changes come in 2028, and we don't know them all. We see the structure and what it may be, but there is, and Craig did mention, this is something we'll find out if Deere is interested in, or not just Deere, but if the John Deere Classic can get into one of those remaining championship series. Challenger looks to be probably more likely, but we don't know right now as we get moving towards what is a big change in golf. This year's John Deere Classic, Craig, the field keeps getting better and better. And Andrew was on last week, and he mentioned since he put it better, and he's probably gonna text me maybe what he. But
He's
since
definitely gonna text you.
It was one of the best fields in a long time last year. This year's field's pretty dang good too, and it's getting better as they go. Your thoughts as we look big picture, what, almost a week and a day away from things starting, 2 days away from things starting up?
Yeah, undoubtedly, and this maybe speaks to the possibility that the proposed changes, the announced changes today could actually work in the tournament's favor. But I do know that when they went to the elevated events in the first place, there was a lot of concern. But really, all that did, playing behind the final elevated event in the Travelers, it made this field exponentially stronger. These guys have all the reason in the world to play here because they're trying to get in the top 20, and they've got a month left to do it. Or excuse me, the top 100, and then the top 20 gets you into the top 70 gets you into the playoffs, and the playoffs then lead to top 30 at the Tour Championship. So there's all kinds of reasons for these guys to come here, and that's why some of these guys are coming here. I heard Tom Kim is now on the coming list, and he's at 140 right now, and he really needs to enhance that status to be eligible for keep his tour card next year. Tony Finau's another guy coming in a bad needing to really resurrect his game, and frankly, Jordan Spieth is there as well. I don't know if Andrew's reference to we got some news coming later this week that will include past champions. I don't know if that really refers to Jordan Spieth or if it refers to a Brian Harmon or a Sepp Straka who's trying to elevate their status in the FedEx Cup standing so that they have a better chance at some of that playoff money later this year. But he mentioned at the Volunteers dinner last night that this field is going to outshine last year's field, and that's pretty doggone good.
He's such a tease, isn't he? I mean, instead of just telling people, he has to give that darn tease. Andrew's just he's a tease. I'm telling you. Yeah, it is. It's a really good field, and the young golfers too. I think it was yesterday. Officially, Luke Clanton's coming. Jackson Koiven coming as well. Michael Thornbjornsson is in the field as well. Guys that are going to be really good players on the PGA Tour for a long time. When you look at the youth, the sponsor exemptions, Zach will be back. The former champions, the players inside the top 50. It is forming and shaping up to be a really good event this year at the JDC. I don't want to get too much into our preview. We'll do a John Deere Classic preview show with our round table of experts, and of course Craig will be on that next week as well. But
Ryohei Satsuni.
What?
Sleeper Ryohei Satsuni. I'm jumping on it. I don't want TJ stealing my thunder.
All right. I like it. Look at you already. Dropping it. I love it. I love it. Talk a little more just about, like, obviously it's always hard to pick and handicap this kind of thing, but we're sitting here a week away from another competitive event that's going to come down to the wire. We got Brad Underwood going to be here in 8 days as well. Carrie Underwood is going to be here a couple weekends from now. I mean, just in general, fans getting out, they're going to see great golf and great entertainment and familiar faces all along the way.
I think it's going to be a really exciting week. I told last year after I looked at the attendance on Friday on July 4th, first thing I said to Andrew was, "You better get Taylor Swift." He didn't get Taylor Swift, but Carrie Underwood's pretty good, and I think those Sunday rounds are going to be buzzing. I think 18 is going to be packed, just like John May and John Deere hope it will be, because that looks really good on TV. I I think the field is, as we mentioned, is the best that we've ever had, and I think it's going to be a great tournament. It just we have every reason to celebrate our history and be the John Deere Classic that we always have been, and really have a great week. I think that's a given.
Craig, before I let you go, we look at this thing and there's been so many times, and you know more than I do. You're a skosh older than I am, but the journey, and it's in the book, a great book, by the way. That like there's ups and downs, and the journey's not always been smooth sailing. I look at news and events and changes. You mentioned the changes to the elevated events, and people worried about that. There's schedule changes. We moved to the 4th of July, and how are you going to do that? And we just mentioned last year's field, one of the best ever. This year's field, one of the best ever. The numbers continue to go up. I'd look at today's news from the PGA Tour, and I'd say I wouldn't overreact if I was a fan of the John Deere Classic. And I'd say this is such a great event. We're going to figure out ways. We're going to get more information, and we'll be fine in the long run. What would say you, as someone who wrote a book about golf in the Quad Cities and the ups and downs that we've had?
We are a survivor. We are. And we're a survivor because of the volunteers that I got. I'm a first-year volunteer, by the way, Matt. I'm actually going to be Martian.
How are you going to do that?
Huh?
You got to work and volunteer? How are you going to?
Well, I'm only on Wednesday.
Okay.
I won't be working for the tour on Wednesday, so I'll be writing about the event starting on Thursday for PGAtour.com. I'll be blogging about the event before that. So QChistories.com is my blog site, and I can't wait to unpack the changes to number 4 at Deer Run that I've been watching happen. The starter out there at the golf course. That hole came in amazingly well, and the rain greened it up just fantastic. Going to be interesting to see how the players react to it. I think they're going to handle it just fine, either with 3 woods or they're going to. Chris Goddard is going to blow it past those bunkers that are 330 out or 300 yards out. I don't think that's going to be a challenge for a lot of the big hitters. So it's going to be fun. The golf course is going to change just a little bit, and it's going to be. It's going to be a great event, no question about it.
Go really back real quick. You mentioned being a survivor, and I cut you off because you're a volunteer too. But this tournament's been a survivor. It's had a long history of a long journey. What would you say to fans that see news today and start and schedule changes? And what would you say to them when it comes to golf in the Quad Cities? Just enjoy this while it's here, and it has a contract through 2030. We'll see what 2028 brings, but we've got 2026 and we've got 2027, and I think both those are going to be outstanding events. Let's enjoy what we have. You know, when the reader corrected us on the size of the purse, 8.8 million. I go back to 1984 and 1985 when they were just struggling to get to 100,000 total purse. Couldn't get there with 200. I think 200,000 was the goal in 1985, and they got there they didn't get there, but Dean Beeman said let's go forward anyway. And there's been so many times when this thing was on the ropes, and Quad Cities just don't let it die. 1984 was when they manned phone banks and raised money from the corporate community and from donors, the kind of donors who have contributed $200 million to Birdies for Charity over the last 20 some years. They can't take this away. Good luck with that. Yeah, you're going to pry the John Deere Classic out of my cold dead hand, Brian Rolapp. I think we have to leave it as that. And I don't know if anybody's going to sleep tonight after seeing that. But, hey, I appreciate you, Craig. Obviously, you'll be busy during the week at the John Deere Classic. We're going to get you on this show as many times as possible during the week. Last week, you were there every day for us, so we appreciate that as well. We'll do our John Deere Classic preview show coming up next Monday right here on OTA, and you'll be a fixture on that as well. Thank you, my friend. Enjoy that cigar. Enjoy that cigar. We'll talk to you soon. You got it, buddy. See you, pal. That is Craig DeVrieze joining us live right here on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. And Craig's right. It's an interesting change. We don't know enough about them. We'll find more about them as they go on. Their changes are until 2028. And I guarantee you the people in the Stonehouse, John Deere, the volunteers, this community, we're going to continue to have, everything will be fine. Everything will be just fine. And I mean that. Everything will be great. And the beauty part is we get to enjoy a great week of golf coming up next week right here at the John Deere Classic. So I'm excited about it. Again, a reminder, the Off the Air OTA will be live Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday from the Stonehouse, from Andrew Lehman's office like we were last year. He put this goofy looking what do you call it? Goofy looking Bears helmet behind it where I'm going to be, unfortunately. So we're going to have to figure that out along the way and maybe get rid of that. So it'll be a great week of golf in the Quad Cities. We're excited about it, and we'll be there every step of the way with you right here on OTA. We got a lot more to get to. Coming up after the break, we're going to talk a little bit about the scheduled announcement for Iowa basketball a little bit more. We're going to go back to last night's Fever game and take a peek at that. And then yesterday I didn't get to it, but one of the best things I saw over the weekend came at the U.S. Open. So all of that and much more. You're watching OTA. It is a Tuesday right here in the Quad Cities. We'll be right back. For over 65 years, Lindquist Ford has proudly served the Quad Cities, and they're just getting started. Looking for a new ride? Check out a healthy mix of new and quality pre-owned vehicles ready for you. Need service? Skip the waiting room. With free pickup and delivery and mobile service, they come to you. No delays, no hassle. From routine maintenance to a full-service collision repair shop, it's fast, friendly, reliable, and always transparent. Lindquist Ford, serving the Quad Cities since 1959. Experience the difference today.
Hey, I'm the Crawford guy.
Ooh, do you guys always speak at the same time?
Sorry, guys. I'll go first. You know, if you need help with your heating or air conditioning,
Or electrical.
or plumbing, Crawford Company can solve your problem.
But what about your problem?
What problem?
Do you not hear yourselves? Take it from me, the Crawford lady.
And me, the Crawford guy.
Crawford is the comfort company.
This summer, light the fuse on something bigger than fireworks. It's red, white, and you at the John Deere Classic. July 1st through 5th with world-class golf and 4th of July energy you can feel. Wednesday is Youth Day, and kids 15 and under get in free with a paid adult. After golf, concerts on the course rocks the weekend. Carrie Underwood headlines an All-American 4th of July celebration. And Old Dominion closes out Sunday. Stars, stripes, summer tradition. Get tickets now before they're gone at johndeereclassic.com.
Welcome back to Off Day with Matt Randazzo here on a Tuesday in the Quad Cities. Of course, the John Deere Classic will be here before you know it next week at this time. I got to make sure I get my dates correct. Yeah, Sunday. Yeah, next week at this time, we'll be getting ready for the John Deere Classic. Actually, next Tuesday, I get the privilege of emceeing a great event at the John Deere Classic. There's going to be 2 of them as we celebrate women in golf and a great event at the John Deere Classic. We'll talk more about that coming up later this week as well. So a busy week at the John Deere Classic next week, and we cannot wait for it. Again, the news here this morning, PGA Tour announcing sweeping changes to their competitive schedule starting in 2028. There'll be a championship series, a challenger series. Right now, we don't know where the John Deere Classic actually is. If you read into it a little bit, it would probably look more towards maybe a challenger series, or there will be 6 or 7 events on the challenger series that are kind of standalone events that'll have their own TV, that'll have no competition between when it comes to the actual championship series. So again, the championship series would be the 120 top golfers, and then after that would be the rest. That doesn't mean that like no great golfers are coming to the Quad Cities. If someone's struggling, like if you looked at the 120 and down right now, there's a lot of big names that are in that grouping as well that would be right here at the John Deere Classic. So it would, or whatever the Challenger Series event would be. So again, some speculation out there. We don't know the answers to everything, but we do know one thing. John Deere Classic is next week, and then 2027, those nothing affects that as well. So we'll continue to learn more, and we'll get Andrew Lehman on the show here one of these days here real soon as we get ready to invade his office coming up next week. We mentioned it at the start of the show, but it was a interesting night in the WNBA yesterday. And we'll kind of take you back to it. The Fever fell behind 19-3 at one point. They made 3 points with, basically through 9 minutes and 59 seconds of the first quarter. They made a buzzer 3 to go 19-6. They played better in the second quarter, played great in the third quarter, and eventually were pulling away. There's a moment in the fourth quarter which got chippy and fun where Dewana Bonner, who played for the Fever, actually didn't even play. I think she played in 2 games before she basically quit, and they let her go, and she went out to Phoenix. She was back in town. So her and Caitlin Clark got mixed up. Caitlin clapped. Nothing happened, and then all of a sudden this happened. Caitlin got the technical foul, didn't understand why, and so she was pleading her case, which I do agree with her because she clapped. Instigated is what they kind of talked about, but then off and away from it, there's Bonner and Sophie Cunningham going head to head and pointing at each other, and I love Cunningham. Just looking at her and just pointing and smiling, and you can see the security guard kind of smile as well. You can see your teammates smile as she points. No love loss between the Fever and Dewana Bonner. They play again coming up on Wednesday, so it should be an interesting, fun night of WNBA basketball coming up on Wednesday night. The Fever did get that victory as well. It was a busy night in the WNBA yesterday as well. The NBA draft is coming up tonight. If you missed it, we talked with Tyler Tachman earlier in the show. Great stuff. He's out in the Big Apple. Make sure you're following him on social media. I had video just a short time ago of him when it was Bennett and his brothers were working out, getting a workout in before the draft tonight. So really cool to see. He's got some really fun access to Bennett Stirtz this week. So follow him for everything tonight when it comes to the NBA draft and Bennett Stirtz. We talked about what it meant for the University of Iowa and their basketball program to have someone like Bennett Stirtz getting drafted tonight. We also talked about maybe the next players drafted for the University of Iowa. I loved his top 3. You got to go back and check it out. We talked about Keaton Wagler. I know Illinois fans are yelling at me. You know the Illini are going to have. Yes, we know that. I don't know anyone out at the draft that covers the Illini, so I didn't get a chance to do that. But Keaton Wagler will go. They think maybe top 5. We talked to Tyler about that as well. So go back and check those things out. Tomorrow on the show, we are efforting to get one of our Illini experts on to talk about where Keaton Wagler might end up. And then there's other players from the Fighting Illini that might get drafted more probably second round, which would be tomorrow night. But we'll talk more about that coming up as well. So we appreciated Tyler for his time as well. Yesterday, I wanted to go through the best things I saw over the weekend, and I didn't get a chance to. We had the breaking news about Dusty May, so Tom Kakert hopped on here. So, and the one thing I wanted to talk about was just I love the Father's Day aspect of the U.S. Open. And, of course, you had Sam Burns, who didn't quite get the job done, and he shared a special moment with his dad and talked about his dad and his son afterwards, and it was great stuff. But this was Wyndham Clark, who had a tough – I mean, that wasn't an easy Sunday. You go in with a 5 or 6 stroke lead, I think 6, and you're thinking, all right, this should be fine. And it got within 1 stroke of the lead, Burns did, and Wyndham Clark played well. But I love moments like this. Afterwards, you see Wyndham Clark noticing that his dad did fly in. And you'll listen to it.
I'm so proud of you. That was the toughest round you've ever played, and you were so Thanks. Thanks, boss. I'm glad you could be here.
I love it. I'm glad you could be here. I'm so proud of you. I love stuff like that. So that was the best thing I saw over the weekend. Obviously, a U.S. Open championship is amazing, a major championship, and the way he held off everyone and played well down the stretch to win it was a lot of fun to watch, especially with the crowd there at Shinnecock not being too nice, if that's a nice way of putting it, when it came to the way they treated Wyndham Clark over the weekend. Really cool to see. So golf and Father's Day, a lot of people go golfing with their dads. Of course, if you watch the show, you know that I held a memorial golf outing for my dad this past weekend, and it was a blast, and it was another success. So I want to thank everyone who did that and who came out and supported that. A full field, a full event. We raised a bunch of money. The silent auction went fantastic. So thank you for anyone who had part in that, because the U.S. Open, Father's Day, golf, that all goes hand in hand. So it was a special weekend for dads out there. Hopefully you got out on the golf course a little bit wherever you are this past weekend and enjoyed a little time with your son or your dad, or maybe both, if that might be the case. So we got one more break to get to. We'll kind of take a look at the rest of the week and a little bit more as we wrap up a Tuesday edition of OTA right after this.
Hello, Dan Pearson here of FCA. Our team is thrilled to support Off the Air with our good friend Matt Randazzo. We share the view of the power of sport when it comes to relationships, including the influence of the coach. FCA believes the coach is the most influential person in America. Matt celebrates local coaches and athletes. His content is informational, insightful, and inspirational. Our Fellowship of Christian Athlete team loves partnering with Off the Air with Matt Randazzo while we engage, equip, and empower coaches and athletes in our 23 counties. FCA, the heart and soul in sports.
View from the West, the podcast covering Illinois high school football.
It's going to be a hard-hitting game. It's going to be great football.
Weekly analysis and reaction from around the western side of the state of Illinois.
This is the game we had circled when the year started.
Follow along on YouTube and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's big-time football out there tonight, and I know we can play big-time football.
View from the West. We got you covered.
Are you looking for the Quad City's best chips and salsa? There's only one dude to turn to.
Right on.
Snoop. Hand-cut chips, fried fresh with that crunch you've come to love. And the most addicting salsa with delicious fresh ingredients each and every time. Pick up your chips and salsa, queso, enchiladas, and much more at the Stern Center in Rock Island. To place your order, simply call the man himself. It's Snoop at 309-314-8197 and find out for yourself what the rest of the Quad Cities already loves. Welcome back to OTA on a Tuesday here in the Quad Cities. A busy Tuesday it has been. Again, some little bit of breaking news. The Iowa men will play in Sioux City. The women playing in Sioux City as well. The Iowa men playing there on November 10th. They'll take on Virginia Tech. So you look at their non-conference and you have Iowa State, a top 10 team, most likely when the year starts. You have Alabama, probably a top 20, 25 team. You got Creighton, probably a top 30, 25 team. You have Virginia Tech, should be a top 30 team. Xavier in the mix as well, probably a top 40 team. So a really good slate when it comes to the Iowa basketball program and the schedule that they have this year. And, of course, a lot of them neutral sites or at home. I'm trying to think if Iowa State is at home, and then a lot of them neutral sites within the state of Iowa. Of course, there's also the trip. I believe the Xavier game is not at Xavier, but it's a neutral court near there. I can't remember exactly where, but so those are the kind of the logistics of what Iowa's men's basketball schedule will look like once again coming up this next year. We I really enjoyed Tyler Tachman. As I mentioned, go and check out his stuff. The NBA draft is tonight. We'll continue to talk about that tomorrow as well. Also coming up later this week, Chasen Randall will be on the show on Thursday. Really excited to talk to Chasen about his latest chapter of his professional career and much, much more. And Quad City basketball in general and where it's come and where it's going and all of those kind of things. So Chasen Randall coming up on Thursday's show as well. And the John Deere Classic, the PGA with some major changes to their schedule starting in 2028. We talked about that with Craig DeVrieze. Go back, check that segment as well if you missed it. Also, check out yesterday's show. Mike Morrissey, Tom Kakert, and John Marks were on the show yesterday as well. So we appreciate you guys watching. We appreciate you guys listening. If you're listening on the podcasting platforms, make sure you like, subscribe, all of those kind of fun things. Comment. That helps us out a bunch. And we'll see you guys back here for another edition of OTA coming up tomorrow. We'll see you then.